Welcome back to the channel, you guys. My name's Jeremy Ray, and in this video, I'm going to be taking you on a journey of how I went from only having $200 to my name to having over $100,000 at age 18. This story is insane. It's emotional. It's something different that I've never shared with you guys on this channel before. Yet I feel it's a very, very important topic, so I wanted to talk about it in this one. Starting here, which is actually the street that I lived on, where I started my first ever company, you guys, when I was 15, almost 16. This is where I started my first e-commerce business. I loved growing up here, you guys, and I'm gonna actually show you my house and start explaining to you guys the actual story of how I started drop shipping. We're gonna start in the actual bedroom at my mom's house where I started my first e-commerce business. So we are now officially at the house, and we're actually gonna go sit on the bed that I literally started my first company, Vulu, from. Being in this room feels really, really crazy because I haven't actually been here for a while. All my ideas, everything, you know, was thought of in this exact bed right here, you guys. Before I got into e-commerce at all, I had a couple businesses when I was younger. I got into business first when I was like 10 or 12, started a duct tape wallet business, and just had little businesses and side hustles on the side ever since then. I always was attracted to the idea of having real freedom with your life and being able to do the things you want on a daily basis. And my whole life, ever since I was a little kid and started my first business, that was kind of my mindset and kind of my thought. When I was 15, almost 16, I was working as basically a groundsman was what it was called, but it was essentially a janitor. I was literally like cleaning toilets and like cutting blackberry bushes. I did that job for about 2 weeks and absolutely hated it, so I stopped working there. And then, you guys, I got into e-commerce, and basically what kind of caught my attention or brought me into e-commerce was my buddy Chase. And my buddy Chase at the time was actually, he was my best friend, and he was reselling stuff on Craigslist and OfferUp a lot. He'd go and buy treadmills at Goodwill and essentially fix them up and then sell them for more. And so I was like, why don't I do the same thing, right? So then I started going to Goodwill, fixing up treadmills, going on OfferUp, buying, you know, hype clothes, Supreme, and just essentially starting with one base item and just trading my way up or selling my way up to more and more and more stuff. You guys, I literally started with this one treadmill that I flipped for, I think I bought it for like $5 and I sold it for like 500. I invested in some hype clothes, and I would basically wear these clothes for a little bit and then also sell them in the end. And basically I did that for a couple months, saved up a little bit of capital, and then Chase actually found out about this thing called drop shipping. I had no idea at the time what it was, and when he first told me about it, I thought it was illegal. No joke, you guys, I literally heard it and I was like, this can't be legal. Like, how can you ever sell somebody else's products? I was like, wow, so you're telling me I could have a retail store up tomorrow? And he was basically like, yes. So as any kid would do my age, I went straight to YouTube at the time, and I started searching up as many videos as I possibly could find about drop shipping. There wasn't a lot on YouTube or on social media at all about drop shipping, so I decided to kind of learn the basic store building stuff on YouTube, but besides that, you couldn't really learn anything else at the time. The only big thing back then was influencer marketing on Instagram. So I essentially started to go into business with Chase, and me and Chase were like, hey, you know, what better idea than to start a business together? So we ended up making our first store. It was actually selling jewelry in specific chains. We were in high school at the time, and everybody around us was wearing these chains or these watches. So we thought, what better than to make a chain store? But hey, we actually didn't make the store look too bad, and we ended up calling it Broken Love Co. And the funny part about this, you guys, is this was when general stores were still like the thing to do back then. So I literally just threw up this sticky bra product. It was essentially a sticky bra that you like, you know, strap to your like, and you basically like pull it together and it makes them like push up essentially, right? And I was like, oh, you know, people are loving this. It was going viral at the time. So instead of making a whole new store, I was just like, you know, why don't I just make it easy and throw it on this chain store? So I literally had a store that looked like a jewelry store with a bunch of chains and then this random sticky bra. And I was like, I'm gonna run an influencer shout out to this. So at the time I had probably like $500 and Chase had like $100, and we wanted to do this influencer shout out. It was either $250 or $500. So Chase essentially put his $100 towards it, and then I covered the rest, and I was like, I'll cover the rest and I'll put in more than half because I know that we're gonna be able to, you know, make our money back off of this. And I was like so confident that we were about to make like 10 G's the next day. I remember literally going to school the next day and I was like just walking like with my head up. I was like, you know, it's the day, like this is time. Every single idea I get, for some reason I think like, oh, you know, this is the idea, this is it. And you guys need to think the same, because if you think that way, you go 100% 20% on it. But that's besides the point. I knew that the, post was going out at like, I think it was like 12 or 1. So I was in like my 4th period class, and I remember the post went live. And all of a sudden I had tons of people going to my page. And long story short, only one order came through, and I was selling the sticky bra for $4.99, making like $1 profit on it. So I honestly have no idea really what my mindset was back then, but it was just a lack of experience that kind of caused me to, do something like that. We only made one sale, and now I was completely broke, which was fine. Acquiring that knowledge that, I could sell something online was worth way more than the $500 I spent on the shout out. A lot of things happen for a reason, you guys, and you need to understand that in your life. Things are happening for you, not to you. Once I got done with that influencer shout out, I decided to get into women's clothing because it was almost summer and I knew that bikinis were selling like crazy. So I basically started putting a bunch of bikinis on a Shopify store, and I named the store Vulu. I was building my store all day, all night, every day. I'd get home, I'd go straight to my bed, and I would just be working on my business. But I ended up actually having something pretty crazy happen to me over at my high school. And essentially what happened was this girl DM'd me on my Instagram for Vulu that I had set up, and she was like, hey, can I be an ambassador? I was basically like, well, what's an ambassador? And she's like, you give me a discount code, I buy products from your store and I wear them, and then I promote your store with my discount code. Well, yeah, sounds like a win-win for me. So I made her a 20% off code, and long story short, she goes and buys $75 worth of stuff from my store. I saw $75 come through my Shopify, and I cannot tell you how excited I was, you guys. I was absolutely hyped. And so I basically thought, hey, if somebody wants to do this, I know there's tons of other girls out there or people out there who are wanting to, be an ambassador as well. So I started basically just mass DMing as many people as I possibly could, trying to get people to be part of my ambassador program. And I remember finishing off the day at like $150. I was sitting here with my girlfriend, and I was absolutely tripping. I was like, wow, $150 a day. Like, if I keep doing this consistently, I'm gonna make, over $4,000 a month. I was absolutely ecstatic. I had been doing business, trying ideas, trying different things, getting hated on, told I wasn't gonna be able to do it. I started just getting so many organic sales every day. I was building a legit brand, and I actually got to my first like $50,000, $60,000 off of just straight DMing people.
I saw him, but it doesn't compare.
My mom supported me throughout my whole entire journey, you guys. Kind of describe how you felt when I got, started in this stuff.
Well, Jeremy, I can say that when you were probably 2-3 years old, you started doing things your own way. We called you a little man for a reason. You were always wanting to experiment and try different things, and you had your ideas that never fit inside of a box. Everything that you came up with, we just wanted to be supportive. I remember specifically collecting rocks and looking for animals and stuff, and you wanting to start your own little business with all sorts of things for them. So really it was just following, knowing that, whatever you wanted to do, you were going to do it.
I'm so savage.
Where we're at now is actually the first spot that I moved out to on my own off of e-commerce, you guys. This behind me, this little building. At this time in my life, I had my successful business Vulu, right, which was kind of my big first successful brand. I was getting ready to actually sell that brand and exit it. But you guys, that experience moving out so young really taught me about life and really taught me about how important it is to actually get yourself set up at a young age, because if you do, you can learn so much so quickly. The year that I moved out, I never ever went back home, not because I didn't like my house, but just because I knew that, me being on my own and growing as much as I possibly could would be very beneficial for my future. And since then, I've obviously had a bunch of different apartments. I've lived in a house for a year. I've, been all over the place, but I actually ended up getting a girlfriend. I basically met this girl. We, fell in love, right? And then she started becoming a part of my day-to-day life. So I was basically in this relationship where at the point in my life, I was trying to do other stuff. I wasn't necessarily trying to be in a relationship. I was trying to focus 100% on my goals. I was traveling a lot. That's one thing that I forgot to mention. I took a lot of time in high school, and I went to New York, I went to Arizona, I went to California a couple times. At this time in my life, I had a girlfriend, and I realized that we were both great people, but we kept getting into these arguments over like nothing. And I was like, why are we sitting here arguing over like, who, drank the last this? You guys probably know what I'm talking about. It's like the littlest things. Like, it was just because we were growing together, something that needed to grow individually first. And this is also the point where I really hit my first $100,000, in the bank type of thing, right? I was like, I think I'm gonna be, secure forever. I had an apartment, I had a cool car, right? I went and bought the Mercedes that I still currently drive. I had pretty much everything that a lot of kids my age would have been like, that's amazing, right? And a lot of of kids were. There was a lot of kids that, you know, used to make fun of my stuff, now coming back to my life, now trying to learn from me, now trying to get advice, now trying to get help. If they come up to me and they ask me for help, advice, I always give it to them because I'm on this earth for the greater good of everybody else. I truly believe anybody, no matter what they said in the past, has the opportunity to educate themselves correctly. This was a monumental place for me. This is a place that's crazy to be back at, and I definitely enjoyed taking you guys here as well.